closed at this stage. No distractions, complete focus. So away we go. This is a seriously packed field. It's going to be fast, it's going to be furious. It's going to be an absolute thriller.
The way I've been racing, the way I like to race is from the front, and I'm fortunate enough to be one of the strongest swimmers on my day, and the French have certainly been playing a part in that as well, and they'll be definitely looking to do the same in Paris.
So away we go, and this 2023 Montreal World Series race is underway. Just have to cut in just there to make sure they go around the buoy. You can't go underneath it. We watch Hauser going beautifully at the front. Bang on 8 minutes for that swim.
Hauser's maintained his position all the way through transition though, ran really hard. He's the one in control.
That looked absolutely textbook, didn't it, from Hauser?
You know, thing the swim, you know, you're setting the tone for the whole race, and I like to kind of capitalise on early momentum and take confidence from that. So yeah, for me, the start is one of the most important things. To get clear water and to be able to substantiate that momentum moving towards the first buoy. It is pretty ruthless out there, and the technical officials do their best to monitor what's going on. But yeah, you just got to try and keep forward momentum and yeah, kind of muscle your way through it. That first buoy, there's no worse place to be than smack bang in the middle, and sometimes you'll find yourself there and yeah, not be breathing underwater for a few seconds, but yeah, it's all about how you kind of, as I said, like adapt to those situations and kind of push past and know that it's a long race, it's a 2-hour race.
The finale of the season is underway, the grand final for 2023.
But Hauser's plan is working.
So coming out to complete their first lap, Matt Hauser is first out. Excellent swim.
Good transition from Hauser, out first.
I mean, you can't win the race in the swim, as I say, but you can certainly lose the race. A few races in the past I've been kind of caught out with the initial intensity of T1 in the first few minutes on the bike. So I think when you prepare yourself properly for that intensity and you really say, all right, these next 5 minutes are going to hurt like hell, yeah, it certainly does wonders and prepares you for that next stage.
So what are you going to do today?
I hope just a 4K aerobic swim. But we'll see. It'll have very limited rest. But it's okay. And hopefully the water's not cold. I hate cold water.
I would say swim training most people just like loathe. It's just a necessary means to racing triathlon. I come from a swimming background, and even when I was back in boarding school in Mount Kelly, I swam with the swim team and traveled with them to some bigger swim meets. So thankfully I come from a good background and have a reasonably good stroke for a triathlete. So that really helps set me up for the race.
Here she is. So the 2022 Bermuda Triathlon is underway.
Duffy right on her feet, just where she needs to be. Duffy would definitely have the advantage on the sort of the more technical stuff.
Yeah, Duffy's come off the feet and she's now trying to get alongside Seredny in the last few metres of the swim. So those two out together.
And you can hear the cheers from the crowd.
They're heroes in front. She's made exactly the start that she would have wanted to, Flora Duffy.
I put a lot of time and effort into my swimming. What I do each session is very intentional of why I do it, when I do it, who I do it with, having a great swim group. Because yeah, it makes a huge difference if you can come out of the water top 5, immediately you're just like, can put the pressure on everybody else and they're on the back foot. So for me, that's a really important piece of my racing and gets a lot of focus in my training. The swim at Paris 2024 is a very technical swim, and I think it's going to have a big impact on the race because we're swimming in the Seine, and we start with swimming with the current behind us, and then you get to that first buoy and you turn left around it and you realize, oh wow, I'm being pushed further down this river. And then as you come back into the pontoon, you swim against the current, and it makes a huge difference where you're swimming into the current. For a lot of people, it's a bit of a mental shift to be like, okay, I'm not swimming the straightest line, I'm swimming the fastest line, which often means swimming a bit skew, kind of all along the sides of the river bank. But yeah, it can make a big difference. I mean, watching the test event last year, you saw some women that exited the water top 8 and then second lap messed up swimming in the current, lost 20 or 30 seconds, and that completely changes your whole race. So it's a bit weird, yeah, that we never train in those conditions. You train in a nice pool, and then you get to the race and you can be swimming in a choppy open water, a river with a crazy current, tides. But I think that's all part of like being a triathlete and kind of like adapting to the environment that you're racing in and being able to read the situation. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to train in it, but you need to understand the conditions that you're racing in. In Tokyo in 2021, Christian won the men's race, Blumenfeld. We both started on the exact same pontoon position, spot 15. And he said to me the day before his race, we were at the sort of swim familiarization, and he said, just off the cuff, just said, oh, hey, Flora, if you get the chance, pick spot 15, shortest line. And I thought, okay, well, that's weird, but whatever. And literally, I walked into the briefing 20 minutes later, got called up to pick my start position, and I picked spot 15, not really thinking of Christian. It was just like the next best available start position, so boom, spot 15. And then the next day, Christian raced, and he won. And he started from spot 15, and then I thought, oh my goodness, like, then I really felt nervous. So yeah, it was pretty funny in the end that we both started on spot 15, and it was just like his off-the-cuff comment, and then I ended up picking the spot, and we both won.
When we have this kind of a strong field, always look for the likes of Knibb and Hayden Wilde, because we know they're not, almost certainly not going to be at the front of the group.
Yeah, it's always kind of been my weakness, so...
Rate my swim out of 10. I'm going to say 5.5.
There they are, side by side, Knibb and Hayden Wilde.
For me this year is like to become a lot stronger in the swim, so you know, going to France and training with my swim coach Fred to kind of hone in my skills a little bit more. Like I feel like I've got the engine for the swim now. Is just trying to fine tune the style and the speed, and I really think I can, you know, be
be a good swimmer at some point. It's just, you know, dialing in the technique.
The primary focus was to improve open water swimming and to be at the front of races after a swim, and unfortunately now you have to be one of the best swimmers in the game to be competitive, and yeah, it's always going to be a constant battle for me, but I think that I'm starting to, being able to find my rhythm with that, and I know what I need to do and get closer and closer to it. The swim's becoming more and more relevant as, you know, the sport evolves. People probably don't realise how hard we do actually go to the first buoy to, you know, position ourselves for the whole race. I think you're doing a full gas effort at the start of a race, which is 2 hours long. I mean, if you told somebody to do that in a marathon, they'd laugh in your face. So
here we go then for this event in Cagliari. This is Alex Yee, just watching here, just goes down.
Oh no. Oh, that is not how you want to start the swim. He's up quickly.
Where is Wilde?
There's Yee coming through, 24th
He's
position.
done very well then, very well after falling on the sand.
my goal is to be in a position where people don't say, okay, how far back is Alex in a race? I think to be, you know, as a, not a triple threat, but almost as a person who's, you know, able to be there consistently. And, you know, you can be the best swim shape of your life and still have a bad swim within triathlon because there are so many factors involved.
The finale of the season is underway, the grand final. Anyone can have a rough swim, and all of a sudden, it's wide open again.
Anything could happen.
I'm going to believe this, Helen. Hayden Wilde has picked up a penalty for equipment out of the box. That is an absolute killer for the Kiwi.
Yeah, I had to make a split decision. I know there were some fast guys in front of me. I flicked my cap off and it was like I thought it just went into the water and I was just like, but it didn't. So that was my mistake. But I had that decisive move. Alex was with me and I was like, well, if I grabbed it, in reality, I think I'd have been Alex's group and been 2 minutes behind. And if I left it, I wouldn't have made the. If I left it, I would have made the group, which I did. Looking at that replay, like it actually just looks like I blatantly chucked it on the ground. But I was like looking up and I was running and I was actually meant to chuck it in my left hand, but just completely missed it. So it made it look like I just completely dropped it on the ground. But yeah, I didn't even realize I actually dropped it until I saw until I like was running. And then when I was running, it looked like I was trying to kick it, but it was just like running style. And yeah, it was just a complete fumble. And you know, it was a split decision whether I pick it up and, you know, lose 1 or 2 seconds and potentially be a bit behind and not bridge that gap. Just don't worry about it, get the 10-second penalty, and it didn't cost me getting into a better group. You know, I was in a better position, I think, not picking up that cap.
That is one of the beauties of our sport, that it's so hard to be consistently good. And I think, yeah, for me, being a smaller person, I probably don't deal as well with the physicality side of things, and I think for me, I've always got to find my way through, you know, good positioning or just good swim physiology and performance.
It's a hard one as well. Like Paris is going to be a difficult swim, more so just with the currents as well. Like a lake swim is very straightforward, or a river swim is very straightforward normally. There's no current, and it's, you know, if it's whoever gets the first buoy is kind of is happy days. Where Paris is so much more interesting in a way of there's a massive current. You know, we we swam 450 meters in about 4 minutes flat, which is, you know, below world record kind of stuff, you know. So it just shows you how fast the water was moving. But I think the nice thing about the Olympic swim is, you know, you always have a bigger lap first, which is always kind of, you know, you get that big lap done and then you've only got a little lap to go, which is always, I don't know, nice mentally. So yeah, it's a difficult one, but I'm just kind of preparing myself as much as I possibly can heading into this race. You know, the success would be to be in, you know, obviously just off the front group and bridge the gap quickly. Just to obviously use as less energy as I possibly can to get on the bike, and if I can use more energy being in the front group and not having to bridge, that's fantastic. So I can actually use that energy for something, where if I come out obviously in the second group or just behind, you've got to use that energy to then catch the front group. So yeah, I think all leading into Paris is just going to be as much efficiency as possible.
That's where it gets tricky. You can see that boy getting spun around. So those in the middle of the field, they can get damaged at this exact point.
You know, we call it a washing machine. It is
A lot of bodies and limbs.
Swinging your arms.
I've gotten like dunked in there. It's rough.
Getting really congested around that first buoy there. If you look at it, there's athletes kind of almost stopped there.
Every first buoy scenario is always absolute madness.
Tough position, you've just got to get out of it as quick as possible.
try not to get grabbed and kicked.
There's a lot of stuff that goes on in that tunnel that you don't want to see. So to rate my swim, I think is tough. I would say, best ability, on its best day, best execution, I would give it probably a 9 out of 10. But I think consistency, I would give myself a whopping 50%. It's hit or miss. It's not like I'm always going to come out 10th, or I'm always going to come out 30th, or I'm always going to come out 2nd. Like I have the ability to be up in the front, but I'm just not always there. But I also know that it's still a work in progress. I'm learning that, and hopefully it'll change.
You couldn't get to Canada for the pre-race briefing. You alerted them to that, but it does mean a 10-second time penalty, which kind of not the ideal way to start a race.
On your mark.
Look to be a clean start. We're underway in Montreal.
Knibb, where's she going to come out in the spin? Because we know it's so important for her with that 10-second penalty.
She's going to be one of the first out the water.
She's really gone for it at the hill. She's had to sprint.
Well, she's done everything that she can to try and ease the burden of this 10-second time penalty. I mean, the 10 seconds is going to feel like a minute to her.
She's absolutely smashed it at that hill. She's done everything possible
The official,
to give herself a
the
chance.
official's going to be waiting for her. There he is. You can see
There she goes. She's ready to go.
She was champing at the bit. She waited till he counted down to 0, and now she can get rid of the wetsuit. And I think she's going to be okay.
She's right in the middle, isn't she? There's still athletes behind her. Great, great work from Knibb there.
Like, I'm not too keen on people like touching me a lot. Actually, so in Abu Dhabi in 2022, I had a broken toe. And so like, I not only got out, but I kind of moved over to the side. I went out on the outside and I like somehow got to the first buoy first. And then Flora was on my foot and she was tapping that broken toe every single stroke. And I'm giving her a hard time about it now. And she's like, I didn't know it was broken. I'm like, it was taped up. Like, there's a reason. Yeah, it's just kind of like, I like to do my thing and just like get done with it, move efficiently. Like, being near the front is such an advantage because you just don't have to touch people. So the pontoon draw at the Olympics, it works. So in a normal WTS race, you are numbered based on your WTS ranking. And then on the day of the race, you walk down to the start and you select your spot. So the pontoon draw for the Olympics, on the other hand, is in the briefing, which is 2 days before the race. And how it works is it goes by Olympic ranking, not WTS ranking or world ranking. It's Olympic qualification ranking. So the top ranked athlete goes up and whispers a number to the person who is in charge of the pontoon draw. And then number 2 goes up and whispers a number, and you don't get to see what number 1 did, who number 1 picked. And so for the top 10 athletes, it's the same protocol, but the thing is that you have to give a number, and they either says yes or no. And like once they say yes, that's your spot. You don't get to change, but you have no idea where other people have chosen, which I think was part of Gwen's strategy in Rio. I don't know fully, but I know that that was a strategy in Rio. And so then after the top 10 athletes choose, just 10 red X's are shown on the board. And then from the 11th ranked athlete on, the athlete says what spots they want and they say yes or no. And then at the end of the draw, the top 10 are revealed and you see everyone's slots. When you get out after the first lap and then get back in, it's kind of the first time you get to see where you are and you get to see where everyone else is. And you might know who's around you, but it's also a good sign of like who's right there that you haven't seen and who's maybe not there, who you're grateful is not there. I can't be okay with 30th, and I'm not okay with 30th, but I think that there's like a passive approach to racing and like just let's see what happens versus like, okay, what are you going to make happen?